Hello, Internet. I'm Jake.
I'm Hannah, and I'm already exhausted by this, and we're only on chapter 2.
Chapter 2. But we're gonna chug on. We're gonna chug on. We're just gonna keep going through Dave Rubin's. It's basically just reading Dave Rubin's Twitter or listening to him speak once. Like, if you are a Dave Rubin fan and you bought this book, I would be very surprised if you weren't disappointed in just retreading his just content. That's just all it is. It's the same shit you get all the time. It's not good. And this particular chapter is called "Embrace Your Wake Up Call," but really it's just here's bad stuff that I don't like.
He's effectively in this chapter trying to say, here are examples of ways that the modern left, the modern progressive movement, have moved away from actually being progressive, and actually they're the regressive. Conservatives are the real progressives.
Yes.
He does this very poorly by using several straw man arguments, and also, I think, mischaracterizing the arguments of some of the people from the Young Turks, but that's...
And maybe even worse, he's just horribly unfunny when trying to be funny. It might be the biggest grievance I have with him is his crippling lack of being funny.
If I'm going to start taking stands on being mad at people for not being funny, we can't be friends anymore. So,
I gotta say, denial ain't just a river in Egypt is the second sentence. So
yes.
of this chapter, and I'm not a fan of that. So I guess the first thing he really talks about that is really cringy to me is the thing very shortly after this. I want to read this to you, and I'm not gonna put my own words in this. I'm not gonna inflect any differently. I'm gonna deadpan read this to you the way it is delivered. And I want you, the audience, to try not to gag vomit directly into your mouth, okay? You ready? Okay. This is different, meaning that this book is different than how Alcoholics Anonymous works, where they want people to stop drinking. Okay, that's how you stop being an alcoholic. In this case, to stop being a liberal, a cuck, this is what you need to do. Dave writes, I want you to get sober through compulsive thinking. That's right, people. I want you to walk into a bar and order yourselves a full-bodied opinion. I want you to get absolutely wasted on facts until 3 a.m. And then, when you're just about ready to pass out, I want you to get another large glass of reality and chug it. I then want you to have intellectual binges that are so wild you go missing for days, eventually waking up on a stranger's sofa, hungover on reality.
I can smell Ben Shapiro's boner from here.
I know, that is so bad. He binge drinking facts, okay? Which is why Dave Rubin is religious now?
Question mark? Get drunk on the facts, you know.
All right.
Facts like the fact that white people are the real persecuted group in this country.
That's a fact. I have never felt more persecuted in my life. Yeah. This is just sad. It's just fucking sad.
They it's been said, I forget who said this, but speaking of fetishism, not sexual fetishes, but fetishism in the psychological sense.
That's too bad.
Is sometimes defined as denial of lack, and what that means is effectively people will put things out there as a way of trying to deflect from the fact that they are lacking something. For instance, you can't say, oh, America doesn't have freedom. You can't kneel. We have this song that says how free we are. It's a fetishization of these iconographies of certain things that stand in for the actual object you're talking about. And in this case, I think people on the right, especially people like Shapiro, Lobster McVegetable Pants,
Jordan
Peterson, they will often tout the buzzword facts.
Yeah.
As a way to imply that what they are saying is based in data and reality and not their feelings, despite the fact that most of the things they talk about, and I'm talking in the 90% range, number pulled out of my ass, which I will admit, it's all their feelings, it's their fifis, and instead of addressing the fact that their opinions don't hold a place rooted in reality, instead they'll just talk about how they're all about the facts and we'll destroy you with our facts and logic in my big boy Ben Shapiro brain. It's interesting, and it's fairly transparent.
I think a lot of it seems to be the loudest pundits, especially like Rubin, who I think is, of the three people that we've been discussing regularly, him, Shapiro, and Peterson, he's the most alpha. But I feel like all of them have this like finally now I have the power thing going on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Doesn't it feel like that? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if that's real or not. This could be my just sort of like weird projection going on, but like I don't know. It feels like they finally got a little bit of power behind them, and they really, really, really want to use it bad. He goes on to say some dumb shit. The dumbest of the shit, in my opinion, is the left is no longer liberal. Once upon a time, the left truly was liberal. Liberals used to champion the rights of women, black people, and gays, the three genders. They fought for all marginalized groups to be equal under the law. This was authentic liberalism based on individual rights, and it was a damn good thing. Unfortunately, this is no longer the case. I don't know anyone on the right that does this.
I was just going to say, remember back in ancient times, back in 2015, when gay marriage became legal? Man, that was so long ago.
Yeah, that was...
And certainly it was all the people on the right who were championing
and by the way,
not the people on the left.
It's interesting that you say that, because that was 2015 of Burgerfell v. Hodges, and he mentions that the falling apart of the left happened in 2014 for him. Yeah. Interesting.
Which is strange.
Yeah.
I don't understand his thought process here.
And when black people get shot by citizens trying to make a citizen's arrest, it's only
citizens arrest.
Yeah, it's only the left. Well, he did have the audacity to be black and look at something. So while jogging, I mean, those three things in combination. Can you imagine? So he had to be murdered in the streets. And then women. Yeah, we would like women to have rights. Although here he means biological women.
So here's his next statement, which I want to point out because it's not at all emotionally driven, and don't take his language to be inflammatory. And remember what he said in the first chapter. Tribalism is dead, and of course he will follow that through here. Trust me, this is not some random assumption I've pulled out of thin air. It's a sober conclusion I've reached after years of watching my old team transform into a baying mob of hysterical Puritans, a feral gang that sows division through identity politics and encourages societal tribes to rank themselves in a pecking order of oppression.
I don't know if you were going to read. I don't know if you're going to read more of that, but I wanted to stop because he talks about identity politics and societal tribes here before the section where he says you can't be mean to the black guy because he's black. You can't be mean to the gay people because he's gay. You can't like he does the thing. He does the thing he says he's not doing. It's fucking wild.
The thing is though, he's allowed to use those tools
because he's the gay.
Yeah. But apparently people on
the
left
you're gay as fuck.
Otherwise, yeah, well,
you're equally or more gay.
Well, according to him, since we're on the left in a hierarchy, I have the big gay bigger than him. So apparently being higher on the oppression totem pole that doesn't exist.
Which is why you often stamp me down.
Yes.
I begin speaking and you're just like, shut the fuck up, you het piece of shit.
It's our bi-weekly white cis man beating.
Of course it's bi-weekly. Couldn't be het weekly.
As is tradition. So again, this entire chapter, he uses incredible straw man arguments about what he thinks the left has done.
Yeah.
He will point to things like, I'm trying to think of an example.
Well, he's literally right after this is he gives what I'm going to air quotes examples. I'll just read that.
Okay. Go ahead.
So right after you said you read that section, the very next paragraph, the left's vision is a new social order that despises our hard-fought freedoms, parenthetical, eroding the First Amendment in favor of hate speech laws, promotes socialism, parenthetical, through the redistribution of wealth, and denies scientific fact in order to weaponize the power of feelings, parenthetical, by asserting that there are more than two genders, for example. Let's address all three parentheticals, shall we? First one, eroding the First Amendment in favor of hate speech laws. He's got to be talking about Bill C-16. That's the one, right? Like,
he mentions Jordan Peterson specifically and C-16, I think, later in the
I don't think he mentions C-16, but he mentions well, not by name. He mentions like the situation.
He says basically that Jordan Peterson is a Canadian psychologist or psychiatrist who fights against the government trying to control his speech, again being the C-16 bill.
Which isn't what Bill C-16 is. It's just
Bill C-16 disallows you from basically discriminating against trans individuals.
Specifically in a scenario in which you are misgendering someone to the point where they could consider it harassment, and this only applies to government people, specifically maybe a professor at a University of Toronto.
Imagine if there was a bill basically that said, as a government employee, and specifically in your role as a government employee, you aren't allowed to call black people the N-word.
And
then Jordan Peterson goes, but what if I want to?
Yeah, but
that's what he's mad about.
And
for trans people.
But not even like haha, that's a joke. Literally, that's part of Bill C-16. They just added trans people to the list. You can't call black people the N-word. You also you can't misgender, again, intentionally, trans people. Like, you just can't do it, and that's fine, right? That's reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable.
Specifically, in your role as a professor, in your private life, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Right. Yeah. So as far as the First Amendment, that doesn't apply to Canada, but I'm sure they have free speech laws similar. I don't know what it is. No one in Canada can tell me what their constitution says because they're more reasonable people. But as far as us here, I don't want hate speech laws. I'm fine with laws against harassment, which is what that is. I'm not like I guess it depends on what hate speech means, but like, for instance, the Nazi pug thing. I'm not a fan of Count Dankula, but I think the pug is fine, right? I don't think you should go to jail for that. That's fine. That's the and we're very far left. I don't know what else you can do. Anyway, so moving on from that, promote socialism through the redistribution of wealth. A little bit. Sometimes it really is just about like billionaires and corporations paying taxes back into a system so that, by the way, so that capitalism can remain healthy. It's not that we want, I mean, some of us do want, don't get me wrong, some of us do want space communism, the gay variety, please. But some of us also just want to, depending on who you are on the left, just want to fucking have an operating world that is roughly, has a lot of opportunities for everybody. And if money is stagnating in the top 1% like it is, I don't know if you know anything about economics, but did you know that if I'm not spending $5, no one else will see that $5, and it's only my $5, and then the economy stops operating?
A top-heavy pyramid falls over.
I don't think it would, actually. I think it would cave in. But anyway, so...
you know what I mean. I'm saying...
I do know what you mean. Yes, I agree.
So much wealth and
the idea is the cap is larger than the bottom anyway. Yeah. So, yes, it's just poorly done. It's not necessarily even socialism, but whatever. It's just regulation. And then lastly, by denying scientific fact by saying there are more than two genders. Do we have to? Like, it's not, genders aren't scientific.
No.
Genders are social.
I even posted a thing on Twitter, which maybe will be on screen. Maybe not, though. But it's from a textbook from, like, years ago.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Again, you don't get to disagree about this because this is just academically how these things are discussed. Sex is the male-female dichotomy we typically think of.
Yeah. Also, it's bimodal, for the record.
Yeah. It doesn't take into account intersex people who do exist. However, along with sexuality, you also have gender. Gender are the things we attribute to our primary and secondary sexual characteristics. Things like if you have a vagina, you wear a dress. If you have a penis, you wear slacks.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wear hella slacks.
Again, so sex and gender are different things, specifically because we need different definitions to talk about these things because they are different in practice.
Can we have a sidebar about bottom clothing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Doesn't it make a lot more sense if you've got a ding-dong to wear a dress than it does to wear slacks? Throwing that out there. More comfort. Yeah. You want to air that shit out. You don't want to be sweaty. And then if you got a vagoo, you don't want shit getting up in there all the time, so you want to wear bottom slacks.
What situation do you think...
Pine cones. I don't know. You're a lady taking a stroll with her parasol. Parasol? I don't know how to say that. The tiny umbrella. It's very cute. She's in Victorian clothing, as all white blonde women should be when carrying child, and walking through the park. And then she sits down on her bosom. That's that's not a that's the chest, isn't it? I don't know old timey words. Her butt, but because she's wearing a dress, pine cone in my cooter. I guarantee that happens a bunch.
No.
Vagina havers. Aren't you bummed about all the pine cones? That's how I imagine that happens. So, anyways, but with a strong male penis and large long balls, you deflect the pine cone with your member.
You don't want to wear a dress with a dong unless you're willing to tuck. I speak from experience.
Well, that's just because societally speaking, we don't want to see the bulge. But if we had, let's go with the bulge.
Personally speaking, I don't want to see anyone's bulge, male or female bulges.
Get your big vulvas out of here. Get your large vulvas out of here. Anyway, back to the book. Apparently, the left is just dog shit. And what's the first thing that he really talks about? Are we gonna go? He talked about nothing for a while, and then he talks about his experience at Young Turks. Did you have anything before the Young Turks? He just sort of yells. He's like, by the way, Barbara Streisand and Cher are the two celebrities that we should listen to about foreign policy, I guess.
I found this hilarious because Dave Rubin specifically is like, the left get all their opinions from celebrities.
Donald Trump
is the president elected by Republicans. What are you talking about? A man who is famous for having a rich father who gave him millions of dollars, and then he lost a lot of it in bankruptcies, and then became famous for being a reality TV star.
I mean, they did it before.
What?
They did it before with Ronald Reagan as well. Just saying.
It's fucking mind-boggling to me, the hypocrisy that comes out of these people.
Dude, I swear, he's gonna get paid a check and he's gonna divorce his husband and get a wife. This could be nuts.
The Coke circuit. How big would the Coke check have to be for him to give up, let's say Coke?
Coca-Cola? Or cocaine?
No. It's close to cock.
Cock.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think he's that attached.
Okay.
I think you could pay him to just... but I imagine the first time that he goes towards a vagina, it's going to be like that scene in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it's going to take a really long time because he's trying to, you know. You're gay, Dave. Don't let him buy you. Anyway, so he talks about going to the Young Turks and how it was like, he was so excited, and then the honeymoon period wore off. When the Young Turks had the audacity, the temerity, I don't know, other big words, to yell at Fox News contributor David Webb, who is, of course, a black man. He's black. And so they can't say bad stuff about Dave's black friend. And literally he says, in a heated segment about racism, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks described Webb, who's black but questions the narrative that America is a white supremacist nation, as an, quote, Uncle Tom of the conservative movement, adding he'd betrayed his African-American roots in order to succeed in white society. Now, that's a bit charged. I agree. A bit strong of a punch from your boy, Cenk. But David Webb is a piece of garbage. David Webb, I didn't know a lot about David Webb. As it happens, I don't check out Fox News very much. So I did a Google. I was like, maybe David Webb's fine. Maybe he's one of the good ones. Yikes. Not the case. David Webb, I looked 6 hours ago on his Twitter as of the time of this recording. He said, plan better and reopen America now. 92% of Cook County COVID victims had pre-existing conditions, as if people having other shit wrong with them means that they get to die.
Yeah.
Okay, David. All right, David. David Webb goes on to, 7 hours ago, the conservative case for regulating higher education, supporting Betsy DeVos, who is a dragon, an actual dragon sitting on a pile of gold, and also in charge of our education, supporting her, who is an idiot. She is an idiot. He has retweeted several people calling the virus the Chinese virus. Need I go on? This guy's a slime ball, and it wouldn't surprise me for him to not understand white supremacy. It's very interesting. I had a discussion with I do a podcast on Sundays with Arian Foster called Sunday Service. It's very cool. It's on my Twitch channel. And we talked about white supremacy and what it actually means. It doesn't mean that white people are or act supreme all the time. Sometimes it totally is the case. White nationalists are very popular for like, we're the best race ever. But really white supremacy is like how totally whiteness pervades the culture, right? And the supremacy is such, and like how it pervades like literally everything. How Arian Foster, who is ex-NFL player, very popular in Texas, a millionaire, good-looking young man, did an Airbnb on a music tour recently, and got kicked out by the white owner because she was scared of 5 black men renting an Airbnb out of her house. Like this kind of shit, where it just, the kind of shit doesn't end. It just, we have societal supremacy in a way that you just kind of have to admit. And I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into it, like you don't have to have white guilt, you just have to understand you don't want to be part of the problem, stuff like that. And Cenk always goes really hard, and I think he's kind of a poor communicator when it comes to this kind of stuff. But that said, I get it. David Webb's a slime ball. Like, get over it. I don't know. And Dave isn't willing to have these kinds of conversations, so.
I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out people like him and Jesse Lee Peterson are often touted out as props by the right to say, see? Look at this black person.
Candice Owens is the biggest one. Happens all the time. Same shit. You're still... David, I hate to tell you, but you're still black. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this was basically when Dave decided the left is only out here for character assassination. Nothing else. They're only here to smear people. Nothing about politics. Just, I fucking hate you. And then he says, this is the clearest example of totalitarian religious nature of progressivism I had ever witnessed firsthand. Totalitarian. I am so fucking libertarian. It drives me nuts that like some things that other people think are reasonable, I think are unreasonable. Like the fact that I should be able to buy meth. I don't want to buy meth, but I should be able to buy meth. I think I should be able to go to a hotel and do some meth. You know what I'm saying? And I think, Hannah, meth might help out.
No.
Think about how refreshed you would be after a nice long day of meth.
Your
brain would be like, "Whoa, I'm gonna solve so many problems." It would be nuts. You'd install the AC.
No, a clock. the second methamphetamine were to hit my system, a clock with 3 days would start, and by the end of that, when that clock hits 0, I will be dead.
But you know what I mean?
Because when I find something that makes me feel not like shit, even a little bit, for 5 seconds, I can't stop.
Yeah, but in this case,
life is a nightmare, and my body is a prison.
We could put you in a happy place, and it'd be like, hey, we're nurses. We're gonna let you not die, and you can do as much meth as you want.
That sounds awful.
That sounds great to me. Anyway, I don't even want to do meth, and that just sounds dope. So, as far as totalitarianism, I don't know any progressives that are actually totalitarian. And I certainly don't know any that are religious. Yikers. But
tankies for totalitarian.
Yeah, but they're not progressives. Yeah. So I don't know. We're for liberty is pretty much the whole thing, almost all the time. And he just doesn't get that. So next up is, unless you have anything else, is do you remember the Ben Affleck thing? That was fun. That was fun. Good times.
Literally, whoever you are, anywhere. If you take anything that happens between the beginning credits and closing credits of a Bill Maher thing, seriously, please fuck off. Bill Maher is the worst, and I hate him. He's a rich, smug asshole.
Yeah.
And the fact that Dave Rubin in this specific part is like, oh, touted by he's like the supreme liberal comedian. No. Do not attribute.
Well, Dave did say that Bill Maher is his favorite comedian.
That's
sad. Is Bill Maher anyone else's favorite comedian? Is Bill Maher's favorite comedian? And he's up his own ass so far, I don't know that he can address anybody else being a comedian besides himself. And I don't think he's his own favorite comedian. This doesn't make sense.
Anyway, Bill Maher's awful.
Bill Maher is awful, and he is not what anyone that's progressive that disagrees with Dave Rubin is arguing. Like we don't agree with either of you. You're both wrong and bad. So this was when Bill Maher had Sam Harris on. Sam Harris, neurosurgeon, neurologist. What did he do? He's like I actually forgot what he did now. He does brain stuff. Very smart guy. Sam Harris actually has a pretty decent podcast. But Sam is like really tone deaf when it comes to anything that has to do with race whatsoever. And he said some shit about like separating Islamophobia from racism, stuff like that. And then Ben Affleck got really mad, said that's gross and racist. It was a hilarious thing. It was like 8 minutes of like nonsense, and it was a bunch of rich people yelling at each other about shit they didn't really understand on either side. So let's talk about it. And then he goes on to say that he does the Charlie Hebdo stuff. This is all part of one thing because he stacked it on purpose. He said Ben Affleck said it's racist, and then also look at this. Islamophobia, yikes, they did the Charlie Hebdo shooty shoots. We can't imagine not being Islamophobic. So, let's talk about that. Islamophobia is a very specific thing. Religion is stupid and dumb, Dave, and you just fell back into it like a stupid dumb. Okay? Religion, Islam, stupid and dumb. I don't like it. I don't like it any more than I like Christianity. I probably like it a little bit less. Considering its doctrines are so easily moved around because of the hadith and the way that you can just be like, I had a revelation, and now you have a fucking harem, like shit like that. And also, obviously, it's modern day, easily the bloodiest religion, easily, right? But that's not.
It's also more recent than Christianity, though.
Yeah,
and Christianity had quite a head start.
Right. That's why I said, yeah, absolutely. That's why I said modern day. It's the bloodiest. That said, I don't think any progressive that talks about this very easily we can distinguish between religious fanaticism and people who happen to be that same religion but aren't fanatics, right? That's it. That's the whole thing. We don't have to say every Muslim is bad to understand that fuck the people that did Charlie Hebdo and all the people that agree with it. Like, yeah. I know that there's studies out there that say, like, well, 50% of Muslims or 70% of Muslims agree with Sharia. Do you know that Sharia is vastly different depending on which sect you're talking about? Like, it's not always like fucking throw the gays off the roofs. Sometimes it's just like they want a theocracy. I disagree with it. I think it's bad too. But it's their fucking countries. I don't know, man.
And also, if in the United States you polled all Christians and you said, do you want biblical law to be enforced?
Oh, yeah.
People who've never read the Bible in their fucking lives.
10 Commandments.
They would go, yes, we should enforce. Because people, believe it or not, even when they're religious, especially when they're religious, talk out of their ass all the time, and they don't know what they believe, even if they say that they believe it.
Yeah. So anyone on the left, I don't know anyone of our peers that thinks that, like, acknowledging the bad stuff about Islam is Islamophobia.
No, the only thing I've seen really is when people take it way too far and start talking about, like, the Middle East as, like, savage and talking about people who live there as if they are subhuman. That shit is absolutely racist.
Yeah.
You don't get to talk about people like they're trash and then expect people to be to just go along with it. You can't do that.
It's just amazing.
Feel free to criticize the religion, criticize the belief system, but don't be a piece of shit. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, so basically he's just talking about that, and he writes it like, and then those Al-Qaeda operatives, Saeed and Sharif Kouachi, and stormed the magazine's editorial office with Kalashnikov rifles. Like, stop. You're sensationalizing it. You're doing the bad. Don't do that, Dave, you fuck. I absolutely hate when people do that shit. And then he goes on to say that the left is very, very hypocritical. If a member of the Westboro Baptist Church had opened fire in a U.S. mosque, leftists would be all over it, declaring racism an epidemic with Christianity to blame. True, because it is. But in this case, they blame the cartoonists. I don't know who blamed the cartoonists. I remember very few people actually blaming, like, Charlie Hebdo themselves. And I remember hardcore leftists with, like, Je suis Charlie in their fucking bio and shit. Like, what? I hang out in very left-leaning spaces, and I'm very active on Twitter. Everybody was like, fuck that. Charlie Hebdo. Like, we like the First Amendment. Like, we had a very early on we had that very cringy Draw Muhammad Day thing, which I don't care about really. I think it's silly that they have graven image bullshit, but at the same time they have it. So, like,
why am I gonna go out of my way to antagonize people?
I totally get it though. Like, if you're making it, especially if you're doing it in a situation where you're making another political statement behind it, like, hey, this is free speech and it's very important, and then great. But if you're just doing it because you think you're edgy, I don't know. We talk about the Brett Weinstein stuff. Did you care about that? There's a whole bunch. I've done another thing on Brett Weinstein before, where the day of absence and people of color don't go to school, and it's a long held tradition, and then someone said that white people shouldn't go, and he's like, there's a difference between compelling someone not to go or choosing not to go and then trying to compel someone not to go, and then there's a misunderstanding. I don't really care about that.
No.
I don't know. This whole thing, he talks about the free marketplace of ideas.
He talks a little bit about the fact that there was a Canadian professor who decided to show Jordan Peterson video talking about gender in the classroom. He says, the action came after she dared to show footage of a little-known Canadian psychology professor named Jordan Peterson discussing gender pronouns. FYI, Peterson has repeatedly stated that he is fully supportive of transgender rights. He just doesn't want government-enforced rules on speech.
No, he's not.
That's
because
bullshit. He
stood in front of a trans person and said that not only does he not want government enforced, but he doesn't want anyone at all saying, hey, this is what you should call me. That's not government enforced. That's just being polite to another person by saying, hey, my name's Jake, and someone's like, no, you're Cindy. Okay, what? That's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Pronoun usage is very simple.
So basically this professor got in trouble for doing so because the university said, like, hey, you're creating a hostile environment for the students. You could have trans students. Like, don't do this, because obviously Jordan Peterson has quite backward views on gender and trans people and non-binary people, stuff like that. And Rubin is pissed off about this. Rubin thinks this is, they are stepping on her rights as a professor. No, they employ her. They get to dictate what she is allowed to do.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I completely think that employees should have protections, but at a certain point you cross a line and you need to be reprimanded because it's your job. And when you're not doing what you should be doing in your job, which is to teach students and foster a relatively safe environment for them to learn in, if you fail at that duty, don't be surprised if your boss is like, "Hey, don't do that."
This is the same thing when we discussed that Ben Stein documentary, where he's like, "I want to teach creationism in schools." No, that rubs against like scientific consensus. You can't teach science and not do the science. If you want to go teach religion, go do that, but you cannot do that here with this title and this job. This is not the job that you were hired to do. It's like if Michael Jordan playing basketball wanted to like run out there in like cleats and swing his golf club around. A sport he's also very good at. But it's not the sport he's paid to play in that scenario. You don't get to do that. You will be taken off the court and not allowed. That's just how it works. It's not different, really. If you can go get a job at a religious school and do that. And guess what? That's what a lot of those fucking people in that documentary did, and they do just fine. Go do it. It's fine. The market, guess what? Free market. You know, the jobs that are in the market get to decide too. There's markets within the markets. It's very strange. Very interesting. After that was the Google thing. Did you care about the Google thing?
Not particularly, because I found it to be a bit of a straw man argument. Basically, they talk about the fact that this guy, you may have heard about this, within Google, did this report that basically said, hey, people of different genders, tend towards different career paths, and therefore it's understandable to have certain discrepancies within divisions. And he got fired or reprimanded or something by Google for this. And Dave Rubin's like, well, he was just using facts. Not really. He was presenting facts in a pretty slanted way, because when you're a company like Google and everybody in the industry is probably trying to work for you, how the general population tends to like bear out doesn't matter very much, because literally you have so many applicants that starts to break down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You might have an equal amount of female and male candidates, and even if you don't, a lot of the things that we dictate, again, in society as gender roles, and this translates to what we want to do when we grow up, what career paths we take, these are socially influenced. They aren't strictly biological. Now, I'm not saying there is no biological component. It wouldn't surprise me if in some way female at birth people who have female hormones continue and have an inclination towards nurturing roles, and I don't know, the opposite is true for the opposite to an extent.
Yes, but I want a job where I beat children.
But in a modern society, these things don't really matter very much on an individual level, so it doesn't make sense to apply these concepts to your employment or employees, because you're always dealing with individuals within these groups. It doesn't particularly help one way or another to try and dictate what should be done one way or the other.
Right, and it's important. It didn't take into account at all how things are socialized, which you briefly mentioned, or how things span culture, because he used the example of, like, in Albania and Algeria, women are more likely to do that than the so-called woke Western things. But, like, he was like Finland and Switzerland as ideals there, and they both have pretty, like stereotypical views on gender roles and stuff like that. Like, and that's fine. Like, live however you want to live. I don't care. And I don't think, again, this is another. It's sort of the hypocrisy of Dave and conservative thinking, where they go like, we really, really need to get back to like a man and a woman and 2 kids, a nuclear family, dog, picket fence stuff, where we on the left are like, well, yeah, but people don't always want to live like that. And they're like, no, you have to. And we're like, but people don't want to live like that. That's the difference. And so calling us totalitarian instead of like liberty bound is like wild to me when they're always the ones putting these rigid fences around like what is a gender, what is a family, how can you organize this way. It's like, but we just want to live however the fuck we want to live, right? Like, I don't care if you want to live. If you want a nuclear family, fucking go for it, bro. I want you to have that shit. I want you to have that. And I want it to go exactly. If you want 17 kids, fucking go for it. I hope and take care of them. But like that's the way it could be. But if you want to live in a fucking polycule and you're a I don't know a big gay polycule and no one's gonna procreate ever, and you're all trans men. There's 8 of you, and and you're all asexual, and it's just the most. I don't know. You live in a commune like Waco, Texas. Fuck it. Do that too. I don't care. Like, pick it. Just do the thing. I want you to be happy. And that is not at all how conservatives want. They don't want us to live libertously. I don't. It's so rigid, and I don't understand how they don't understand that it is rigid.
Because they view life through the lens that there is a natural hierarchy. This idea
Lobsters.
This idea that the nuclear family is not some constructed idea that we have idealized for various societal and economic reasons, but they deem that to be that's the natural order of things, and any deviation from that is going to cause problems, despite the fact that that's not really the case, and various societies have had different
you know what, but the problems arise when someone goes, don't do that. That's when the problem arises. If you just say, fine, whatever, there's literally no problem you could have.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't really understand. Unless you're worried about the great replacement. Just don't fuck brown people then. Done. And brown people, don't you dare titillate me, okay? I've talked about this before. I talked to a racist once who's like, we're being replaced. We're making brown babies. I'm like, well, don't have sex with people that are browner than you. And he's like, don't tell me what to do. It's like, all right, man. Well, shit, that's the answer to the question. If you didn't want it, why'd you ask? Anyway, it's pretty much the end of this. Did you want to talk about it? He just goes with some straw man shit at the end if you want to bring up any of them.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
One is, he says he's talking about people who have approached him and talked about, like, I'm on your side now, yeah. Dave Rubin. One was a member of the Gay Men's Choir of Los Angeles who was cold-shouldered from the group after being outed as a log cabin conservative. Gee, I wonder why a group of gay men wouldn't want someone included who happens to be part of a party that's kept them from living their lives peacefully for literally all of the history of the country.
Fucking shocking. Did you see Ariel Scarella put out a fucking... She's so bad at TikTok. She put out a TikTok the other day that was like, why are there no non-binary people in the Republican Party? And so I replied, yeah, why are there no black grand wizards of the KKK? What a fucking mystery.
Yeah.
That got a lot of traction, but it's the same shit, bro. Like, come on.
Another one was an Emmy award-winning set designer who, being a straight white man...
I'm one.
Was told his services were no longer required because a person of color would do a better job. There's no citation here, and presumably Dave just took this guy's word. If a guy comes up to me and says, I was fired because I'm a straight white man...
But that's not why. He even wrote it. He said, because the person of color would do a better job. He even wrote the reason the guy got replaced. By the way, this person, who happens to be a person of color... better at the job. He wrote it in the okay.
It's almost like there's more to the story in using anecdotes with no basis in reality, because I don't believe that even necessarily happened, or if it did, Dave was completely misled as to why that guy was let go. I don't even know why you put these examples in here, because in your head it emotionally adds to the weight of your argument.
Wait, the fact. Feelings?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Okay. That guy felt he was fired because he was white. And then another one. A third was a woman in London who reluctantly removed her child from school because of the abuse he got for his Brexit voting family.
Oh, London, where the multiculturalism is highest in the fucking country, And he surprise, Brexit is racist. So
I also tend to assume that there's more to this story than that. I don't think he got abused for just voting for Brexit.
well, I can't imagine he didn't vote for Brexit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm saying his family. And even if that were the case, kids are cruel for random reasons.
Yeah, kids suck. You met one?
Yeah.
They're pretty bad. I don't like them. Free thinking is the new counterculture. Yeah. Dave, you just stopped being an atheist. you just
He's he's a week away from being the trendy youth counselor. Hey kids, you want to come and rap about Jesus?
Is free thinking code for getting paid for whatever I think?
All I'm saying is Koch brothers didn't one die? One of them died. Koch brother, who is alive, hit us up. I will sell out for
10.
quite a bit of money.
10 mil?
But I will have you know, after I get the money,
you're gonna cut your pee-pee off.
Yeah, not necessarily. It's an intricate operation involving taking the penile material.
Is it?
And molding it into it. Yeah.
Oh, I know that. I was doing a bit about how you're just butchering your body for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a way in which a lot of people tend to disregard trans issues. Anyway,
you should again throwing this out there. You should keep the bits and send them to people that you hate. So, that's what I'm very spiteful though.
I think that's probably a felony because body parts are considered hazardous.
No way they could track that back to you. Your DNA changes when you get
I was gonna say they literally have my DNA.
No,
what are you talking about?
No, it changes. Everything's changed now.
Maybe it'll be like bones, but instead of a person who solves mysteries based on bones,
boners.
I was gonna say it's a character named Balls, and they
they just have a bunch of trans lady balls. Like, what do I do with all these balls?
Yeah,
like the guy with limes. But it's jars of balls.
Sniffs it. Tastes a little bit.
Taste the liquid or the ball?
Tastes the liquid. Like Minnesota.
You can taste the curds from here. I don't know. Is there anything else here? He basically says nothing. But in number 3, we're starting to get an itemized list of stuff with drugs, gay marriage, etc. So
this is where next we're going to get into the actual issues that he's going to talk about.
Oh, I bet.
That's where the meat is.
I suppose. There's the meat. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just meat that is a straw shaped into the visage of meat. Yeah, I'm so far thoroughly unimpressed with this. It reads like Ben Shapiro, but with less teeth. It's just bad. I don't know. I don't think Dave was very interested at all in having any of the discussions that he thinks he's interested in. Like, if Dave is genuinely interested in talking about any of these subjects, I would be more than happy offline. You don't have to pay me. I just want to talk to you in a private Discord call because you're fucking wrong about these.
Yep.
But he'd never do it. Even if I was massively famous, like if I was like I don't know, super duper famous, and he could make a lot of money off my appearance, I still don't think he would have me on. I don't think he'd have anyone on that disagrees with him. I don't think he has the nuts for it. Much like the Balls ladies in Balls, the show that we're writing.
Balls can help find his balls. That'll be her next.
Wait, her name is Balls?
Yeah, isn't Bones' name Bones?
It's her nickname, I guess. Yeah.
Oh well, then yeah, Balls' nickname is Balls.
Yeah, I guess you're right because she likes the. Okay, sure, Balls. Her name. Who's playing it? Zooey Deschanel. She's just quirky enough to pull it off. All right.
I want a Bones.
Actually, I think. Wait. Isn't that her sister in Bones? Am I nuts? Bones actress.
They look a lot alike.
I'm pretty sure it's Emily Deschanel. Wow. And then Zooey Deschanel can be Balls. We did it. Bones and Balls. Perfect. And then we can have a crossover where Bones.
I said that.
Oh, yes, did you?
We need a Bones Balls crossover.
And then it turns out it's a coyote dick with an actual bone in it. It's a trans coyote. Anyway.
So that's the end of this episode. You can always follow me on Twitter at Hannah Reloaded for myself, at Papa Bird Jake for this
Balls.
gentleman here.
More balls. Talk.
You can always donate to our Patreon campaign. There's a link in the description. You can always donate to my transition fund. Link in the description. Oh, I finally updated everything. The Patreon.
I saw
page,
you did a good job.
Everything's all
All
good.
femmed. No balls. There's not even a single ball.
You know, I've been on the hormones. I think this month is my 1 year anniversary.
Is it only 1 year? We were talking the other day. It's been almost 2 years.
Yeah, it took quite a while to get on the hormones. Yeah. Yeah, my testicles are much smaller, so I assume will be easier to remove.
They're thinner, but they've gotten a lot longer. It's very strange. So, don't worry about that. Yeah, I don't know. You can do whatever you want. You hang out. Please follow, share, whatever. Send this to Dave Rubin. He's not going to watch it.
No.
No way.
I wouldn't watch it, and I'm in it.
Well, there you go. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. I just realized that the background was Dave again. I forgot. Look at those teeth. He doesn't even have any.
We caught him, balls. We found him.
Fuck.